Nigeria and Venezuela, countries on different continents, but yet we're about to get involved heavily in both. Let's talk about it. Nigeria is Africa's largest oil producer, and now the U.S. is threatening military action over religious violence. But at the exact same time, Nigeria is beginning to explore different oil deals with different partners without using USD, the United States dollar. Connect the dots. Oil nation plus currency changes and shifts equal pressure. Now let's look at Venezuela. Trump recently said that the airspace should be closed. That is a massive escalation. It's being framed as protecting national security. But again, Venezuela is one of the world's largest producers of oil. And who do they sell their oil to? China, Russia, Iran, not our allies. And when you throw in everything right now that's going on in the Caribbean Sea and closing down the airspace, it's likely strikes are going to start very soon. Now, what do these two countries have in common? For one, the oil. Duh, we know that. Nigeria is reconsidering the dollar dependency, which is going to drop the value of the dollar. Venezuela has stopped using the dollar years ago already, but has strong ties to BRICS and BRICS nations. So both countries have major oil reserves. Both countries have growing relationships with BRICS and or BRICS members. Not to mention the president of Venezuela was voted out years ago and refused to step down. I don't even know how that happens. And a lot of people in Venezuela are for what's going on because they want to get rid of the dictator. A lot of people in Nigeria is a poor country and it should not be due to their oil reserves. Due to the massive amounts of government corruption, a lot of the people there see it too. So now both countries are labeled dangerous, unstable, and in need of intervention. Sounds like they need some freedom. The real issue though is the dollar, USD. The petrodollar is America's backbone. Oil prices in USD equals global dominance. So what happens if countries start using currencies other than the USD? The dollar weakens, the United States control weakens, and the power shift globally turns to BRICS nations, China and Russia. So it's rarely ever about saving Christians, stopping terrorism. The narrative may change, but the motive never will. So when oil moves, currency moves. When currencies move, empires begin to panic. As always, follow the money. What are your thoughts on this? Love you, bye.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 27. I'm going to start at verse 30. And it says, "And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob," all right, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac, his father, that Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. Okay, Esau is a cunning hunter. All right, by the way. All right, it says, and he also had made savory meat. Okay, because one of the things is that Jacob went in disguised as Esau and ended up getting the blessing. All right, just to, save some time and break that down for you. All right, and it says, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison. All right, going into like a deer meat or something, that thy soul may bless me. Okay, he was going in to get that blessing. And Isaac, his father, said unto him, who art thou? Because see, he thought he blessed Esau. And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn. Because, the firstborn, he's supposed to get the blessing. All right. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, who? All right. Because, as he got older in age, his sight was going away from him, so he could not really see. All right. And it said, who? It says, where is he that had taken venison and brought it me? Okay. Because his wife, Rebecca, she assisted Jacob, and she made it exactly how, Esau would prepare it, had him, dressed and everything, because the prophecy was that Jacob was going to get it anyways. Okay. But, of course, Esau, with the tradition is his firstborn would get the blessing. Okay. And it says, I brought it me and have eaten of all before thou camest. All right. And have blessed him. Yea. Okay, and he shall be blessed. So see, it can't be overturned. He's going to be blessed. All right, verse 34. And this shows you the power of how a father, blessing his offspring, that blessing is very, very heavy. Okay, because you'll hear some people say you won't get my blessing. You know, like somebody might go and marry somebody that they don't approve of and say you're not going to get my blessing. Okay, they really want that blessing of the parents. All right. But verse 34 says, when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. Verse 35 says, and he said, thy brother came with subtlety, okay, and have taken away thy blessing. Okay. And he said, is it not he rightly named Jacob? You know, names have meaning. Okay. For he have supplanted me these 2 times, which he's lying, because he he asked him, you know, when he came back from that hunt, about the birthright. He said, sell me the birthright, because he wanted some of that food. Talking about, you know, feed me or I'm gonna die. He's like, well, hey, sell me your birthright. And he did. You know, he could have just said no, you know. But Esau was being very dramatic. All right. But he ended up selling it. Okay. He says, and he took away my birthright. Okay. And behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? All right. So you see that? And Isaac answered and said unto him, behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. Okay. And with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? See, and now it says, Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept, you know, crybaby. Verse 39 says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. Verse 40, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Verse 41, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father had blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders of the nation of Israel. Shalom to you brothers out there that are laboring, enduring the elements, making your body a living sacrifice, trying to sow the elect, making your call and election sure, seeking out your own salvation, as well as you sisters that are learning, listening, applying, being obedient to your husbands. Shalom, shalom. Once again, it's the brother Zechariah coming back to you with another lesson here on this Monday afternoon, and Lord willing, this be edifying. So I got off the plantation and I wanted to get right to it, you know, in the spirit. I came across the video, as you seen in the beginning, and the sister, man, looked like, hey, she was going into it, you know, some very deep stuff. And it showed that she's been looking and researching, and, you know, and she's seeing it for what it truly is. All right. Which I pretty much want to talk about Esau, his nature, and the fact of how he'll set up these reasons of him going into these countries, like, oh, it's for their good. You know, they got a dictator, and this is happening over there. The people are oppressed. They're looking for help. They need a savior, and he's wanting to go in there. You know, but the whole reason why that place is in the uproar is because of him. All right. The Bible says, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. All right. And he has ulterior motives. All right. Which people are starting to see, because it's the same tactics. It's the same devil, same tactics. All right. But the point is that he will slay his brother Jacob, you know, and that's why I wanted to go to the humble beginnings. Because the blessing that he got was that he would get the best places upon the earth, but he's going to get it by way of the sword. All right. Meaning he's going to go in there, you know, when today it's the gun. So they got that spirit on them. They're going to go in there and they'll shoot first and ask questions later. That's Esau's nature. All right. This dude is the cunning hunter. And guess who's the prey? It happens to be us, the Israelites, consisting of the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. All right. So with that, all right, I wanted to pull up a few things regarding like Venezuela, you know, understanding, because one of the things you got to know is that Venezuela does have oil. All right. And I pulled up who holds 80% of the world's oil. All right. It says the organization, all right, of the petroleum exporting countries, OPEC, holds approximately 80% of the world's proven oil reserves. While OPEC is the primary holder, individual countries with the largest reserves include, look at this, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Canada, and Iran. All right. And we noticed that they've been making war with Iran. Okay. They've made war with Venezuela. Okay. They've been throughout Saudi Arabia as well. Okay. And then you got Canada, which they're at odds. They go back and forth with Canada, but Canada ain't nothing but Edomites. So they really all one accord, but they kind of divided now. All right. But when you see these names, hey, these are things that make you go, okay. So you have that, and then I also got another one that says, is Venezuela rich in oil? And look, it says yes. Venezuela has the largest proven crude oil reserves in the world. All right, estimated at around 303 billion barrels as of 2023. This is more than Saudi Arabia. Look at that, and over 5 times the reserves of the United States. However, a significant portion of these reserves is extra heavy crude, okay, which is more difficult and expensive to extract and process than conventional crude oil. But the point is that, hey, they're rich in oil, man. All right, which it leads me to a precept going back also in the book of Genesis, the humble beginnings, dealing with one of the tribes of the 12 tribes of Israel, which will be the tribe of Asher, which those Venezuelans will be of that particular tribe. They will be of the tribe of Asher. Okay, one of the prophecies that Jacob told unto his sons, he had 12 sons, and he gave them all certain prophecies. And these things were going to be indicators how we would identify ourselves in these last days. Because, you know, in the book of Baruch says, in the lands of your captivities, you will begin to remember yourselves. All right. And so one of the things here in Genesis 49:20 says, out of Asher, his bread shall be fat. All right. And he shall yield royal dainties, okay, his bread, okay, his substance, okay, which even is his money, okay, he will be rich in that. And when you notice, they have that oil, okay. One of my best friends, you know, his father is Peruvian, so he's of Peru, but even him, he made some of himself very successful, you know, and he came here in the city I live in. He's actually the head of all the Fifth Third banks. You know, he's the head of all those Fifth Third banks, and you know, just showing you, and their house was ridiculous, you know. And this was my best friend back in high school and everything. Like, they ended up getting this house. They got a freaking movie theater in their basement, man. They had the whole set. I was like, that's crazy, you know. But they will be of the tribe of Asher. Okay, which at first I was thinking, now that I started to, like, when you read about Naphtali and how they are, I was thinking that he could have been Naphtali because, you know, like the characteristics of those of the tribe of Naphtali. But, you know, they are of the tribe of Asher. Okay. And it's just crazy how me and him clicked back in high school. It's like, I didn't think he would be somebody I would have been hanging out with. But, you know, we became best of friends. If anything, we were brothers, you know. But you know, as time went past, you know, things happen, and you know, people go their separate ways, you know. And I think he kind of wishes that, because he's the one that cut ties with me. I never did anything to him. I've always been nothing but a brother. But I think, you know, a lot of times envy and jealousy can pop in and things, and ultimately in his father, because, you know, his father didn't really rock with me like that. You know, me and him was always tight and cool, but, you know, I think his father just tolerated me, but he didn't like me. But I never did anything to him or even gave him an indication like, you know, I did anything. I never, you know, I wasn't a bad person. I didn't do anything. I didn't do, you know, drugs and nothing like that. Neither did his son, you know. And I always told him, you know, because I was brought up, you know, right under my grandmother. So I would, my grandparents. So I would, you know, those things that were instilled in me, I brought that around him, you know, because he would talk crazy to his parents. I'm like, hey, man, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I was always on him about all that. So I wasn't, you know, no indication like that. But, you know, I'm not going to go into a lot of the details, but I think, you know, there were some things about his father, man, which I know the sister in the faith, she's out there in Peru, and she told me about them, the mindset of some of them down there, especially like in like Lima. You know, she said they think they're better. And I don't know if that's everyone in that area, but she said like a lot of them from Lima, they're like a whole different set of Peruvians. They act like they're better than everybody else in Peru. And even some of them might even be like, racist, like if you darker or something, they don't like you and stuff. So, there was some things she told me, and it kind of lined up with his father. So that could play a big part in it. But, he follows me on social media. So that's a beautiful thing. And I know he sees the truth and stuff that I've been putting out, whether he agrees or not. But, I've been bringing out stuff about Peru, the Peruvians and how they are our people. Okay. And plus when you really know the history, Gad and Asher, they are of the same, we have the same father, we all come from Jacob. However, we have the same mother. Okay. We would stem of the same mother because Jacob had 4 wives. So for me and him to click like that, that's heavy. All right. Both of us look totally different, two different, I'm darker, and he looks like what you would call like a Hispanic, but here it is. We are, are more closer than you think. All right. But again, enough of that. But I just wanted to share that little history there. But it's again, Genesis 49:20 says, out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. All right. Now I wanted to pull this up too, okay? And it says, we pretty much, it said it in the other one, but it was like, yes, Venezuela has more proven oil reserves than Saudi Arabia, which, like I said, it mentioned it also in the previous one. But this showing you, like, they are rich in this oil reserves, man. And so what you think Babylon the Great really, you think it's really about drugs? Come on now. Esau has been importing that stuff in and putting it in the neighborhoods where Jake is, because he wants Jake, high out of his mind. Okay, he wants complete control. They want those reserves, and they're getting tired. They don't want to ask. They don't want to beg. They don't even want to do business with you. They just want you out of the way, and they go in there and they take it over. Okay, just like they've done many other countries. That's why I think when they was going in with Iraq, they said Saddam was setting all that on fire over there because he knew, hey, they was coming in. They wanted it, man. Okay. But they come in what? Guns are blazing, coming in with the sword because that's his blessing. And that's why I wanted to start off with Genesis, so you understand this thing goes all the way back. Hey, the Bible says everything in here is written for our learning. All right. But yeah, that's the main reason. Okay, this is the book of Micah 2:2. It says, and they covet fields, and they take them by violence, and houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, all right, even a man in his heritage. And, I've had, over the years, I've had friends of mine, they went into the military, and a lot of them come back and they was messed up at what they saw. I've heard testimonies. Some of them said that they was over there in them Middle Eastern countries and stuff like that in war, soldiers from over here was, raping them women and stuff, them Edomites. And then they told Jake, you better not say nothing. Jake was seeing all that happen. Okay. And I believe it. Esau is a profane person, man. He's the wicked. And the same thing which you witness him doing it over there in those countries, they did it over here. Okay. And that just that'll mess your mind up, all right? And you start seeing that barbaric nature of Esau, Edom coming out, all right? But again, it says they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage, all right? This is Esau, man, all right? This is why I got this article here, which I brought it out before, but I said I have to bring it back out for this lesson as well. But it's from Euro News, and it says Venezuela accuses U.S. of wanting to take over its oil resources as Maduro seeks OPEC plus help. Okay, and it makes more and more sense. All right, and this one is way back. Okay, but it's just showing you, look, that. He's been saying this for quite some time, and now and it's been brewing and brewing and brewing, and now it's to the point where, hey, they ready to clash. Trump here recently just told him that he need to just leave the country. He need to take his family, if he know what's good for him, take his family and flee. That's what he want him to do. Okay, and then they can come in there and they'll take it over. All right. But now it's looking like they prepare to fight because see, he's making oil trades with like I think China, Russia, the with all the non-allies of Babylon the Great. Okay, so that's another reason why they want to go in there. All right, and come at this man. All right, but this is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 4. Starting at verse 4, and it says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. All right, it says, yea, also because he has transgressive by wine, he is a proud man. And that's Esau. You can't tell Esau nothing. Okay, neither keepeth at home, showing you that he's everywhere. Okay, because he's over here with doing this stuff with Venezuela, but not just them. The whole thing with Nigeria, which we're going to get to that here in a second. But they're just showing you he and many other countries. He got involved with the stuff with Iran. That was posted between Iran and Israel. What you doing in that? Okay, but because he's in everybody's business. Okay, but again it says neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death. Death follows wherever this man go. Death follows, man, and cannot be satisfied. He wants it all. But gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. The Bible said he would get all the best places by way of the sword, man. All right. Verse 6, it says, shall not these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe, woe meaning destruction, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. See, taking these things because he's covetous, which the Heavenly Father said, don't covet your neighbor, but you think Esau's going to follow that? Hell no. He's the wicked. It says, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. That's Esau, man. All right. So these scriptures are speaking, man. Okay. Now, a little bit of information on Nigeria. It says Nigeria holds a estimated 37.5 billion barrels of proven crude oil reserves, ranking it 10th globally and second in Africa. Okay. These reserves are concentrated in the Niger Delta region and offshore areas, while recent figures from April 2024 showed combined oil and condensate reserves at 37.50 billion barrels. Okay, more recent reports in August 2025 state the total oil reserves around 37.28 billion barrels. Okay, with a slight reduction. So here it is. They have all this oil. Meanwhile, it seems like that country is, very, very poor. People are, being oppressed. They got a corrupt leader, in there, which that's how it is. They be set up. I wouldn't be surprised if the leader in there, he could be a sellout, but it could be a Hamite. Esau, if Esau can't get a sellout of your people, he'll put in someone that look like you, but it could be a Hamite in there, because them Hamites is in league with Esau, because they joined in with Esau to cut us off from being a nation, and we ain't forgot that. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised even if that is a factor. All right, but see, they have oil, so it's no coincidence now all of a sudden, because like the sister was saying, it's like, really, Christians been being persecuted over there in Africa for God knows how long, and now all of a sudden you're so concerned. You're concerned to the point where now you stepping in there. It's that they'll use that as a reason to go in there, and then when you see that, then you're like, oh, okay, so it makes it seem like it's justify what they're doing. Okay, this is from The Guardian, and I brought this out as well, but hey, it needs to be brought out again for this lesson. But it said Trump threatens to go into Nigeria guns a-blazing over attacks on Christians. So see that? He wants to use that and then say go in there guns a-blazing, because that's their blessing. Okay, and they're eager to use it. All right, this is Psalms 37 and verse 12. It says, the wicked plotteth against the just being the Israelites. The wicked are the Edomites. All right, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. All right, his military. All right, and then his mouth, he blurring out those words like that. Okay, talking about guns a-blazing. He actually said this. All right, and then, it don't stop there. We got sellouts of our people. You got Nicki Minaj, which she's facing backlash from the people. All right. It says Nicki Minaj faced backlash after praising Trump's threats to Nigeria, which they even had her in some kind of conference or something, and she was speaking regarding the stuff over there, and people were saying all kind of stuff about her, man, right now. So it ain't looking good for her, and who knows, maybe she's using that because maybe her sales are down or whatever. But there's a lot of sellouts of our people, okay? You know, so and a lot of them are showing who they align with. Just like Floyd Mayweather, you know, he came out and he let it be known straight up that he's with Israel, you know, no matter what. You know, all that stuff happening over there in Gaza, he ain't said nothing about that, but he's letting it know, all right, I'm down with Israel, okay? And he ain't talking about us, you know. He talking about them people over there portraying to be us, the synagogue of Satan, all right? But as far as Nicki Minaj go, hey, we know that the Bible speaks of wicked of our people making covenants with the heathen that are round about us. All right. But I want to bring out Sirach 25 and verse 13. It says, give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman, you know, especially the wicked of our women. You know, now we get on women in these lessons, but we're not talking about our women in the faith and the truth that are striving to seeking out Yahweh Shem Yahushai, seeking understanding, seeking knowledge, coming back, you know, and doing what's right, making your call and election sure in these last days. All right. It ain't for you. But if the shoe fits, OK, we be getting on the wicked of our women, which is a big portion of our women that are just being straight up demons and wicked, man, making covenants with the heathen and stuff. All right. Another thing, when you really look into the thing about Nigeria, when you come into this truth, you know that there was what they call Negro land. You know that in those regions around in those areas, you know, they had established the kingdom of Judah. OK, Judah being one of the sons of Jacob. OK, that's the same tribe that Hamashiach Yahushai, who the world calls Jesus Christ, stems out of. He sprang out of Judah. All right. So, you know, he would be a Judite. All right. And that kingdom was established. They're showing you that the people were a melanated people. OK, now they wasn't the actual authentic Africans. OK, because, you know, people, they might identify as African today, but they're not the same people. OK, but they were refugees that fled into Africa, getting away from the Romans during 70 A.D. You see, you got to get an itch for history. A lot of times people see skin color and you thinking everybody the same people. That's why even that saying that you hear a lot of our people say, not all skin folk not all skin folk or kinfolk. It's a reason they're saying that. All right. Showing you that, you know, you see that, you know, and I'm sure our people were saying that during the time when we were in Egypt in bondage. OK, you had people same complexion as you having you in bondage because they knew you wasn't their people. All right. You were a different people. You had different customs. You were given the law, statutes and commandments. They wasn't. OK, they can go out here and eat pig and shrimp and lobster. That's not for our people to be consuming. All right. They can do all those things. All right. But we were given the law, statutes, and commandments because the Heavenly Father knows us. He don't know all these other nations. It's not about skin color. It's about it's a bloodline. All right. But Nigeria is part of the slave ports. OK, so, you know, we're the transatlantic slave trade. And then so that those regions, those would be Israelites. OK, and it says major slave ports in the region that is now Nigeria included. All right. Old Calabar. OK, Bonny, Brass. All right. Apobo, all right, Lagos, all right, and Badagry, all right. These ports served as primary points of departure for millions of enslaved Africans, which are Israelites, but they're going to put that African there because they started to call our people African American during the transatlantic slave trade, particularly from the Bight of Biafra, all right, and the Bight of Benin, all right, which Benin, that's if you look at Giannis, which they call him the Greek freak, the basketball player, you know, his people are from Benin. All right. And you can clearly look at him and he looked just like our people. He come over here, he's playing basketball, blend right in because he's an Israelite. All right. But he's away from his heritage. And then he's starting to adapt to the Greek. They call him the Greek freak. He ain't no Greek. All right. But our people was Hellenized back then, too. You know, he's a prime example for that. All right. But I wanted to show you that, to show you something, because you got, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's Venezuela, Hey, that's the tribes. All right, that's symbolic for southern kingdom and northern kingdom, and they're being oppressed by the same oppressor, Esau, Edom, man. This is Jeremiah 50 and verse 33. It says, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts Yahweh, the children of Israel and the children of Judah." Okay, Israel being the northern kingdom. Okay, Judah consisting of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right, which would be the southern kingdom, were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. They refused to let us go, man. Their Redeemer is strong, okay? It says the Lord of hosts is his name, which is going into Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, through his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, who's going to come back to redeem us. It says, he shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. This place, man, they're going to pay for what they've done to our people, man. All right, this is the book of Amos 1 in verse 11. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword." And we read that in Genesis. He says, "Then will I slay my brother Jacob, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever." Yeah, he hates you Israelites, man. Okay, Obadiah 1 and 10, it says, "For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever." No salvation for Edom. All right, they're the only neighbor of the Israelites that will not receive any mercy. Okay, and this is a reason as well. This is the book of Sirach 10 and verse 8. It says, "Because of unrighteous dealings and injuries, and riches got by deceit." You see, this is how because they get it by the sword, man. They lie, they steal. The Bible tells you what the thief cometh not, but to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Okay. It says, "And riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another." All right. It's going from Esau, Edom, who is in rulership right now, but it's going to go over into Jacob. All right. Because Jacob got next, whether he like it or not. And he ain't going to be able to cry his way out of this one. All right. This is 2 Ezra 6 and 9. "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Call all Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders of the nation of Israel. And shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Hey, until the next one, shalom.